Alright, when you are starting like bulk card making, as I call it, where you're going to make a whole bunch of cards at a time, it's really important to know what supplies you have. Being the great paper purchaser that I am, I really thought I had a whole stack of either red or green cardstock, meaning like a whole 50 pack or 25. Turns out I don't. So I rated what I had. These are just some inexpensive white core papers that I have. A lot of it came from Michael's in these paper packs, and it actually really has a nice feel to it. It is white core, so I'm going to be using some of that, and I'll try to pair up more of like these vintagey papers and maybe do some metallic burnishing on the edges with an ink blending tool just to kind of give them some more pop. I'm going to be doing the poinsettias, and so I've got kind of this gold color for the centers. There's like ivy in the background and then lots of red. And I'm going to be using this craft paper cardstock. And if I can figure out how to get it to cut, this is actually velvet. It is. All right, I have my Cricut Design Space open, but I kind of wanted to show you where my idea came from. I was watching Crafter's Companion, and they were advertising these create a card dies where, you know, basically cut out the front of your card, and it was really, really pretty. You know, they're like $20, which isn't bad, but I was thinking to myself, I know I have something in Cricut Design Space that's a poinsettia, and do you see how they layered back behind it, which is, I mean, which is totally pretty. We could absolutely do the same thing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this right here, and I've already kind of got it open. I'm going to customize it. I've got this poinsettia card front, and I believe it was something I got off of their website last year. I was going to see if it's still in here. Poinsettia. And I did see, look at this. You could even do the card right here like I'm showing. As I've mentioned before, they do rotate content in and out during the holidays. So I typically save something, like if I'm looking at it, so I can always find it later. So that's why I have this, but I know it's an image that I got out of Cricut Design Space. Now, there was a couple. All right. So what I need to do is I'm basically going to be creating a rectangle, cutting the rectangle out, and then this back green layer is going to get welded to my card and get cut out of the craft paper. And I'm going to duplicate that before I forget. I'm going to try to slide my screen over so you can see the whole thing. There it is. Hopefully this will
show you everything. So we're actually going to need 2 of these layers. So I'm just going to duplicate it for right now. Okay, and I think I'm going to hide it. The reason I'm going to hide it is, do you see this little caution sign here? That's telling me that my whole design is actually too big, which I knew it was. It's perfectly okay. I'm going to work on that here in a second. So just for right now, I just lined that up. I want to select my red layers, put them all back on, just because I want to keep it together, because when I start sizing it to be the right size, everything just needs to stay together. There we go. So I'm going to select everything. That's just drawing my little box. Did you see that? It's just holding your left mouse button and dragging. I do use a trackball, so the only thing I have to drag is my thumb. My whole mouse isn't, you know, sliding across my work surface. I just find it so much more convenient. And now I'm going to group this, okay? And you can see by my measurements, this is actually 16 and a half plus inches tall by almost 13. Okay, so we're just going to set that to the side. We need to make our card base. This is going to get cut out of craft paper, and I want a 5x7 card. So to make a 5x7 card, I need to start with a rectangle. We're going to cut it in half, so it needs to be 10 inches wide by 7 inches tall. That's where that number comes from, okay? And it looks like I'm going to need to zoom in just a little bit more, because we are dealing with something fairly small there. There you go. And I want you to be able to see it. The other little trick and tip that I do is I always slide this card all the way over to where the position says 0, 0, okay? Because once I start putting a score line in here, we want that score line to be right at 5. We don't want any fudging. And when you're doing kind of precision cuts or like more advanced Cricut Design Space, you really do want to pay attention to your numbers. So see, all I'm doing is taking my card base and sliding it over, and then I am double checking to make sure my numbers are at 0, 0, okay? The other thing that I do, it's totally up to you, is I change the color of my card because I want to be able to see my score lines. And this is going to be cut out of craft card, so I'm just choosing a color that's going to remind me that it's going to get cut out of craft card, okay? So I need a score line just to start so I can kind of see exactly where the middle is. Now, if I just hand place this and slide it over and try to get it right at 5, actually did a really good job right there. But a lot of times if you hand place it, you'll come up with these weird numbers like 5.033. So I've gotten into the habit of just always checking those numbers and then just zeroing them out. And then to get it to actually move, I click over here. Watch, I will do that again. Because I have found that it doesn't always take it unless I click somewhere else. Like I can't just do 500, watch it, it won't move. See, it hasn't moved. I have to click somewhere else, see? So I'll usually click this other one. So I'm perfect right there. And now my width, this is just a score line, just can come all the way down. Okay? So I'm pretty happy with that. My score line did say that it's a little bit taller. So if you wanted to make that exactly perfect, just so it doesn't run off the card, you can. But because it's going to run off the card, it doesn't really matter anyways, okay? So now we know exactly where the middle of our card is, and we need to cut out the middle so we can re-stick in the poinsettia. And just bear with me, you will see where this is going. It is a process. We don't want to cut this out so close that it doesn't really have any room to grab to, and then you know the outside frame is going to be so weak that you know all of the layers of the poinsettia aren't gonna stick on it really well. And we want to be able to see through it. So I think part of it we'll see through and maybe part of it we won't. Maybe I'll do it a little more aggressively than I had thought, meaning I'm going to leave a little bit larger border. Okay, there we go. I'm pretty happy with that. You can use your arrange tools. You don't want to click on your score line, but you want to click on your square. Hold down your command key, or it's the button exactly to the left of your space bar if you're on a Windows machine. And we are going to click align, and we are going to center vertically. And I had that pretty spot on, but that's just a way to double check it, okay? So now we're going to slice like a cookie cutter into a roll of sugar cookies, okay? So our base of the craft card stock is going to be our cookies, and this big rectangle right here is going to be our cookie cutter. So we're going to select our square, and we're also going to select down here, but you have to select them both at the same time. So again, it's that command and click on both of them, and then you're going to go to slice. Now look at that. You have a hole in your card. We're not going to worry about the score line. It's still there. You just don't see it. I'm going to hide this. I'm going to hide this just in case we make an error, okay? Now, I'm going to zoom out because now I kind of know how big I need to make this, okay? And they're all still grouped together. See how when I move it, everything's moving together? So I don't have to worry about this being perfect. I do want to move it to the top. So I'm going to click over here. I'm just using my right mouse button and clicking send to front so I can see it a little bit better. Now I'll zoom in. I don't want the green sticking over this corner because that'll stick out of your card. I don't want it sticking out of the top. And I'm going to kind of pay attention to this 5-inch right here. And then you want to think about how you want your card to lay out. Meaning, do you want to rotate it maybe a smidgen? Like, do you want it to go this way or that way? I'm kind of thinking like this might be kind of good. You don't want to play with the proportions too much, but we can just a little bit to make it fit. I want to pull that score line out just so you can see it. Send to front. There it is. So I put the score line back, and we can tell that this is definitely going to go over it. But we want to be attached up here at the top, and we want to be attached at the bottom. So I think I am going to pull that out, meaning, did you see how it got a little bit skinny right there? There we go. Ooh, that's actually looking really good. I'm not worried about this because remember that was a piece that wasn't really attached. I can kind of stick it anywhere. And now I'm going to think, do I want my berries going that way, or do I want to flip the image and have my berries going that way? I kind of like that. Okay, so this white part of the card is going to be see-through. Let's see, we can move it this way a little bit because I am getting it into position to actually like attach it, or like if you want to say you could glue it. I do want to make it a little bit wider. There we go. That can go all the way there. That can go all the way there. There we go. All right. Now we're going to start working some magic. Now all of this is going to be free cut out of the card. So this is going to be see-through right here. I may do another little poinsettia, 3D poinsettia, and glue it right there, you know, kind of like a flower or a rose. So I think I will probably attach something there to glue it to. All right, so we kind of know the size, right? So everything's together. Now I'm going to ungroup this. All right, stay with me. I need a green piece, but everything else, now this is all exactly the right size. I'm just going to move it. It does not need to be attached because it's all going to cut out separate pieces anyways. We've got to start thinking in 3 dimensions and not 2 dimensions, which does get, I'm going to grab all these circles at once, or at least most of them. There we go. And just kind of move them out of the way here. Come on, circles. There we go. That wants to click on the card and not the other. Okay, let me just select these individual over here. There we go. Okay, so we're going to line this back up at the top. Make sure it goes to 0, 0, 0. See, it's at 0.33. 0, 0, 0. Okay, remember, thinking in 3 dimensions. We need to make this part of the card now. This is actually going to turn into craft color, which is going to be fine because we have the green layer to lay over top of it anyway. So we're going to take this green layer and we're going to take the card layer, but we are not going to take the score line, which I should only have 2 things. Yep, I've got that. And now we're going to weld them. Did you see what happened? It turned into one color. So this whole thing right here is going to cut out of my craft cardstock, and then everything else is going to layer on top of it. It's going to be really cool. I do want to add just a little support system right here so I can glue, like I said, another 3D flower, a 3D something. Maybe that's where my greeting or something will go. So I'm basically just getting a piece of cardstock and I'm just going to create a support like right there. Let's put it into the corner. Let's put it there. And I don't even think we're going to see that once it gets, I want it a little bit wider. Let's see if I can't make it wider. There we go. I don't think we're going to see it. We're going to make sure that it's covered up or something. And that'll just give us some extra support over here to the card, so it's not kind of flopping around. So the same thing, I'm going to take this dark black image, I'm going to select this base layer, and I'm going to weld them together. There we go. We have our cut out base. Okay, we are going to attach the score line now. So I just clicked on it over here in my palette. I right mouse clicked it, and that will send it to front. There we go. Make sure that this is right in the middle, and we do want to attach this, okay? If we don't attach it, when we go to actually cut this out on our Cricut, the machine won't know where to put that score layer. It'll just kind of sit there and go, I don't know what you want me to do. It's not making any sense. All right, so all of these little round berries are gonna get cut out of probably like sparkle paper. So I'm just gonna duplicate some more of them. And it doesn't really matter where they are because the machine's going to lay them out. But if I group them and I try to move them, they'll at least all stay together, okay? So I'm just gonna click group, that's fine. Because I want to build this so you can see what it's going to look like, okay? So we're gonna cut out of craft cardstock the bottom, and then we're going to have a whole nother layer that we're going to glue on here, okay? So now we're going to have a layer of green cardstock, right? Then on top of the green cardstock, we're going to have our red cardstock. And we're just going to glue that on. We're not attaching it in Cricut Design Space. I'm just showing you for layout purposes. And I chose to leave a little border on mine. If you wanted to resize everything perfectly, you can absolutely do that. I just wanted that little hint of shadow layer. Same here on the red one. And when you lay it down with glue, you can always, you know, choose to offset it more to the side, exactly perfect. It's really up to you. I'm just trying to show you this whole concept here. So this is going to be out of gold card, send to front. Oh, we got to do our O's on here. Okay, I know that sounds funny. We need to add some little pin detail because otherwise I think it looks like a kid's cartoon drawing. You could add pin drawing lines to these leaves if you wanted to instead of making these pieces. You can absolutely do that, but this is just the way that I'm choosing to do it. I want lots of dimension on my card, so that's why I'm doing it this way. Okay, so I need to add some little pin detail. I'm gonna zoom in here. I've got a point, I think they're a 0.4 millimeter. Yeah, 0.4 millimeter pin. It's just the regular Cricut pins. I'll show you those. I wasn't really happy using the metallic when I did a little test on there. And I know that this sounds funny, but I'm just going to make an O because otherwise I have to figure out how to make like a circle and cut it and all this kind of stuff. And I really want to choose just like a really skinny font because that's what it will do in the cutting. So I'm going to go up here to my filter. I'm going to click on my fonts, and this should give me the ones that I don't have to pay for. I've chosen not to subscribe to the Cricut Access just because more of what I do is very custom. So I'm just looking for a font like this one that might just be, so these say like multi-layer cutting. I want something that has a writing to it, but I want something really skinny because I'm hoping it just gives me one single line, but if it doesn't, it'll do 2 lines, which you'll see. I don't think it'll be too much of a problem. Here we go. That one's going to do it too. All right. So we're just going to deal with what it gives us. I'm going to choose that writing script that I saw. Where did it go? There it is, writing. Writing, writing, writing. Okay. And we're just going to make an O. Okay, now I have an O. Now, in order to actually make it writing, I have to click right there. Ooh, good, I only have 1 line. Sometimes it'll make 2 lines, okay? We don't want 2 lines. So I just made an O, right? Cheater way, cheater way. All right, so we're just gonna line that up. I'm gonna do it over here because you'll see why in a second, because I'm gonna wanna select it all and attach it, and I'm not gonna want to mess with that background and getting it in there. I am trying to go as fast as I can here. I want to come down a little bit so you can see it, but I'm trying to make it big so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I have my random little O. There's my happy little O because I want to just
add some detail. I'll probably wind up doing glitter and all that kind of stuff, but if I have one of my kids help me, they can kind of, you know, fill that in. I have an older adult special needs child, but she's not really a child, she's an adult, but she loves to help me with my crafting. So I think like if I give her, you know, something to do, and you'll see when this actually prints and cuts out, this will be tone on tone. It is not going to be like black and yellow like a hummingbird. We're just not going to have that. So I'm just duplicating these. You can kind of, you know, change the sizes. They can kind of overlap. Again, you can totally skip this step. Absolutely, 100%. You don't even need to do this. So I think I'm going to cut right here. I'm going to finish and come right back.
Okay, I have all of my O's together. And I'm gonna select everything over here in the layers palette. Shift select. Oh, it didn't select them all. All right, there you go. I'm just gonna hide that. Now it will. There we go. I'm gonna group those all together. I'm gonna color sync. Oh, it wants me to print it somewhere else. Okay, that isn't what I want to do. You can go in here and tell it like exactly what pen you're gonna use. Oh, there you go. And it kind of even changes the color for you. It's just to help you visualize what it's going to look like. Okay, so we are going to ungroup that because we actually want to attach it. Okay, so I'm going to turn this on. I'm happy with it now. And now I'm actually going to attach it. And again, if you don't do that, it's going to put random circles all over your project. And you're going to be like, I don't understand what happened. Why do I have random circles everywhere? It's because you didn't attach it. Okay, so this is going to be my background layer. Again, you're going to glue this on here. I'm just showing you. And then this I might even cut out of glitter card. I think that actually would be really cute. Send to front. There you go. So this will probably be cut out of glitter card. That would be really nice. So, and then I can add like glitter paint or gemstones or something there. So when I'm doing my layers in the next palette, when this gets ready to cut, I'm going to make sure I have glitter cardstock. We're going to save this because we have done a lot of work and we don't want to screw it up. Again, I don't care that these are attached or not. You could make these out of lighter green, darker green. It all really doesn't matter as long as you cut it out of a different color cardstock. So when you lay these over, oh, let's send this one to front. So when you lay these over, you can see them. And again, you're going to glue these little tiny images on there. All right, I'm pretty happy with this. I'm going to look through pieces, my base layers, and we're going to get ready to cut this so you will see how this whole project is going to turn out.
All right, so it has cut out my base card out of the craft, and I'm just turning this over, and I am holding the craft card down and gently peeling the mat away, and that helps not bend your card. I'm going to get a little bit of bend because I was talking to you, not really paying any attention. But that is how that is turning out. I still haven't done the green layer yet, but you can see we are cruising right along. I wasn't able to cut the paper out of the velvet. I tried, but the velvet is really working nicely with our die cuts that we have. So we're going to be probably applying some of that. And then this little white that you see, we're definitely going to want to ink these up. And that happens because I'm using a white core cardstock. That means the color is applied on top and doesn't go all the way through. So when you have that white core, it does look better to ink the edges. Okay, if you did not use solid colored cardstock, which I do recommend, but we're just using what we have in the house, one of the ways you can get rid of the white is just to use, you could use a Sharpie marker, you could use, you know, a water-based marker, just whatever. You don't always have to go out and like buy something brand new. Just think about what you have in the house. So that's one way of doing it. What I think we're going to do is we have these metallic paints left over from another project, and I think I'm just going to hit these with some metallic paint. I think that's going to look really okay. I just wanted to show you what solid colored core cardstock looks like, and I know it's really hard to see in that edge, but do you see how there's not all that white? Whereas this cardstock, when it cuts, because the inside is white, you see it. whereas this one you don't. You can, of course, you know, still ink your edges to give them that depth, but when it cuts out, you just don't have the white. Okay, these next couple of tips are only really for if you're going to be doing a whole bunch of cards at a time. And that's why it is really important to cut a test card first and kind of figure out how all of your pieces are going to go together. You can really see the white cardstock. This one is just the one I hit with the marker. But what I'm thinking about is how many extra pieces I may or may not need. Remember these tiny, tiny, tiny layers? I could probably live without that. That's less that I have to cut out and deal with. This one I think looks pretty good. You should be able to see how the pen went on there. And then if I used, you know, some little sparkles right in the middle, and having the circles on there can help my assistant reach those a little bit better. That I'm pretty happy with. The other cuts I think I could eliminate are these super, super tiny ones. You see them right there, right there, right there. I don't know that having those on the card is really going to make that much difference just because they're so tiny. And when you have them, it's just more things that the machine has to cut out, and it's just going to take longer. So I think that that's one change that I'm going to make. I'm going to start painting some of these elements just because that's my choice. You absolutely don't have to do that. And watch as I get going. All right, just a couple things to go over before I just assemble the card on fast forward. I think I'm going to rub metallic wax just on the edge of this card, and I found using my finger works best for that. I'm not sure if I'm going to use the red or the gold, but these little word dies came out of this kit, and I had a whole bunch cut up because what I do with my scraps, I just stick them in a pile and then I cut them down and I kind of save them for later. So I actually did these months ago. And then all the foliage in here and the foliage that I cut out the velvet is from this diamond press kit that has all these leaves, foliage. I found these perfect for using up my scraps. I actually use these quite a bit. And then the tag, I think I'm probably just going to go with this red one. The tag I actually just took off of this kit from Crafter's Companion, and I'm pretty sure this was something that I got, you know, in one of those bundle deals or like mystery boxes, but very, very useful. And let's get this card. Oh, one more thing. I was going to show you how my inside sheet turned out. They turned out really, really nice. They're nice and soft, meaning they're not, you know, overly bright, and you can write over them. So I'm going to slice this right down the middle, and because you can see the line through here, I think it's going to line up pretty easily. There you go. Cut that. Trim off the edge. Now, this is the edge we're going to leave alone. And we're going to score that one in just a second. So I'm just using my guide here. I will tell you, I am having a hard time getting this line perfectly straight. I've got a guillotine cutter that I'm about ready to unbox. It just came, but I still have this one out. Okay, scoreboard. So we're going to just score right on this line. So I'm going to line it up here, and I'm just kind of looking for the tick mark. I want a tick mark that's on the printing and not on the white, and there happens to be one right there. And because this is printer paper, you want to be a little more gentle, and then you're just going to fold it back and burnish it, because this is going to get, wow, look how nice that looks with that craft card. It looks really, really good. It actually is quite a bit shorter than I thought, so that might be something I want to adjust in Photoshop. And it's a little long over here. So just for the sake of this tutorial, we're going to do that. And then before you sit and, you know, get ready to do these cards, you know, by the dozens or tens or whatever, you're going to make sure that you have all of those little tiny details all lined up. All right.